Welcome to the channel, everyone. BLN437, and today I'm going to go over the National League Championship Series game 1 between the Chicago Cubs and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, before I get into this, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video where I recap game 2 of the American League Championship Series between the Yankees and the Astros, make sure to check that out. The link will be down in the description below. I go over the play, that last play between Didi and Sanchez. I go over Verlander's great outing and just kind of the mindset the Yankees need to have going into game 3, 4, and 5 in the Bronx. But let's get into this here. Let's get into this series between the Dodgers and the Cubs. And I'm going to start off with Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw went 5 innings. He gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, and I believe he had 4 strikeouts. Yes, he did have 4 strikeouts. So Clayton Kershaw gets a lot of criticism for his postseason outings and his postseason kind of career. And yes, he has not been the great postseason pitcher that a Mad Bum has been, or a Keuchel has been recently, or Verlander. He has not. I'll give him. I'll say that, and I'll give everybody who criticize or does criticize Scherzer for that. I mean Scherzer, Jesus, Kershaw. But what I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say is this. I mean, Kershaw has had some great postseason outings that no one talks about. No one talks about last year's bullpen game against the Nationals and how he kind of closed that series out for them in the NLDS. No one talks about how great he was against the Mets. He was good against the Mets. He pitched pretty well. He ended up getting a loss in one of the games and they ended up not advancing, but it wasn't the man's fault. The man gave them the best that he could. He pitched pretty well in both games with Greinke as well. The Mets team was just on fire that year. They were hot ever since they got Yoenis Cespedes, and they just carried that momentum on. But he's a great pitcher, and he's also had some good moments where he's gone 7 strong and they just didn't have a bullpen and he just tired out. But people like to talk about that, and I guess people will sit here and they'll criticize him for not going longer in the start, and that's fair. He didn't go long. He didn't pitch as great as he should have. I mean, he deserves to show up at some point. At some point, he's just too elite to not have a great game where he shuts people up, and hopefully that happens because he like I said, he's just too elite. I love Kershaw. I think he's one of the best pitchers in this game. I think when we look at him, we're looking at a one-of-a-kind talent, but he just doesn't show it in the playoffs, and that's something that sucks. But let's get on with the offense here. So the Dodgers had 5 runs, and those 5 runs mainly came from the bat of Yasiel Puig being their table starter. And now, going into this series, we all knew that Corey Seager was hurt. We all knew that Corey Seager was not going to be able to play, at least that was the reports, if you guys hadn't known, that he wasn't going to be able to play in the National League Championship Series. He's out with a bad back. And that's a huge bat taken away from the Dodgers offense. If you think about it, that means that other people in that lineup now have to step up because they lost their 4-hitter. And the guys that are going to have to step up, the key guys in this series, since I didn't get to do the predictions video, once again, I'm sorry about that, guys. I got stuck with some work stuff. But the key guys that are going to have to step up in this series, to me, are the guys that we saw tonight that played well offensively. Guys like Chris Taylor, guys like Justin Turner, and Yasiel Puig. And then Cody Bellinger has to show up as well. I know Cody Bellinger had a quiet game today, even though he did get 1 hit. He did strike out twice. Taylor got a huge home run. Puig got a double that drove in a run and a home run. And then Turner drove in a run later on in the game. And Turner's a great postseason hitter. I mean, if you guys have checked out his postseason stats, he's one of the best postseason hitters in the game today. Easily. And the Cubs are going to have to find a way to kind of just shut that bat down. Because if they can shut that bat down, it's going to affect Puig. It's going to affect Taylor. It's going to affect everybody else in that lineup, because now their big table setter, the guy that drives in their runs, isn't driving in any runs for them, and that's a huge advantage if the Cubs can get him out. And they did a good job of getting him out. I mean, it wasn't like he dominated the game. He was 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, but he did get a key run in that extra insurance one for Kenley Jansen in that bullpen. But with like I said, with Corey Seager out, you got to look at those key guys: Turner, Bellinger, Taylor, and Puig. And Puig was the table starter of this offense. He got a huge double in the bottom of the 5th inning that drove in. I believe it drove in Forsythe or Barnes, one of the two. And then they ended up getting a sacrifice fly that tied the game. And then going into the 6th inning, Taylor hit the home run, gave them a 3-2 lead. And then Puig in the bottom of the 7th, after Taylor hit the home run in the bottom of the 6th, hits a home run 4-2, and then Turner gets the huge single in the bottom of the 7th as well, after Lackey comes into the game, and it's a 5-2 lead. And so pretty much once the Dodgers got the lead, they didn't look back. And a lot of that also came to a lot of this offense came from Puig, obviously, with the 2 big hits, the home run, and the double that kind of started the offense up for the Dodgers. But we can talk about that all day, more as about the offense all day, but we also have to talk about that Dodgers bullpen that came in and kind of saved Kershaw's butt here. I mean, they did a great job coming into this game. And the one thing that I'll sit here and I'll say about this bullpen, if you look at the box score for their bullpen, Kershaw went 5, right? But you had Sangrani that got 1 out, so he got 1 out, which was, I think, a lefty. Maeda, who got the win an inning. Morrow went pretty much got 2 outs. He didn't go through an inning. So did Watson. And then Kenley Jansen came in for pretty much, a 5-out save. I'm sorry, a 4-out save. He came in for a 4-out save. And that was huge. And we all know that the Dodgers are going to go to Kenley Jansen with the lead in the 8th inning. Once it hits the 8th inning, Kenley Jansen's coming in the game. And that's a fact. And the Dodger bullpen saved him. Maeda saved him. Morrow, Watson, and Jansen. And if I'm Kershaw, I'm buying them all dinner tonight or tomorrow after the game and just being like, listen, thank you guys for saving my butt for game 1. Because I'm telling you right now, if that bullpen doesn't show up, like it hasn't shown up in previous years for his starts, Dodgers easily are down 1-0 in this series. But the reason why the Dodgers are up 1-0 in this series isn't just because of Kershaw or the bullpen. It's because the offense for the Cubs did not show up besides that Almora Jr. home run. I mean, let's look at their lineup. I mean, let's look at their box score as well. If you look at their box score, Bryant, 1 for 4. Rizzo, 0 for 3. Contreras, 1 for 4. Schwarber, 0 for 3. Those are key guys. When I'm talking, think about the guys that I mentioned. These were guys that were productive in the postseason last year, especially in the World Series. Did not do anything at all in this game. Bryant 0 for 4. 1 for 4. And Rizzo 0 for 3 with a walk. That's not gonna get it. That's not gonna get done. Even Schwarber 0 for 3. Schwarber had a great postseason. Remember, he came back, played in the World Series, and absolutely dominated the opposition. Well, that didn't happen. That did not happen at all, and it just really, really, really hurt the Cubs here tonight because, they just looked off offensively. You know, you don't expect Russell to do you any type of damage in the lineup. You use him for defense and for speed, and you hope that he gets you a clutch hit here and there. You know, John Jay, once again, a good leadoff guy, takes pitches, decent average guy, but he doesn't do much. He's not the guy that's going to jumpstart your offense. Same thing with Contreras. I don't really worry too much about Contreras because Contreras could be hit or miss. You know, Almora Jr., once again, he's a defensive guy, right? He's established as a defensive guy right now in his career, but he can obviously be a huge offensive threat. He was one of their top prospects, so maybe this is his coming out party. I don't know. But all I know is that if the Cubs do expect to win this series, it just can't be Almora Jr. It has to be Rizzo. It has to be Bryant. It has to be Schwarber. And Schwarber, Bryant, and Baez as well. I'm going to put Baez in there a little bit too. They haven't shown up. They haven't shown up like they did last postseason, and I don't know what it's gonna take to wake those guys up and wake up those bats, but whatever they gotta do it, because if you look at it, this Cubs bullpen is not the same Cubs bullpen that we saw last year that was throwing out Aroldis Chapman. It was throwing out, it was throwing out arms. It had Chapman, Rendon. These guys were doing some huge damage, and we haven't seen much of Rendon, and we haven't really seen much of Wade Davis. Obviously, they had Aroldis Chapman, but now he's been replaced with Wade Davis, who was brilliant in Game 5. We didn't see him here today because there was no point. But their bullpen is not as deep as I would say that the Dodgers bullpen is. And I'm not saying the Dodgers have a great bullpen. They have a good enough bullpen to get them, by a game, and a clearly good enough bullpen to get them to Jansen against a great lineup like the Chicago Cubs. But they don't have an elite bullpen. They're a little better than the Nationals, for sure, but they're not elite. And quite honestly, I look at this and I think that the way that the Cubs have to win this series, the key for the Cubs to win this series will be starting pitching. Quintana can't go 5 innings. He can't go 5. Arrieta can't go 5. Kendricks can't go 5. And neither can Lester. These guys got to go at least 6 to 7. Try to do what the Dodgers are doing with Jensen and bring in Davis to maybe get a 5-out save, maybe even 4 outs if you needed to. and just try to win that way. Because if you don't, this might be a long series for the Cubs, and the Cubs might have to kind of, worry about this. This is something that the Cubs, when I look at it, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I can't believe we didn't spot this earlier. I mean, their bullpen isn't as elite as it once was last year with Chapman and everybody else. It's just not. I mean, Carl Edwards Jr. is a great, arm out of the pen, but he has not shown up in the postseason, at least as of right now. So maybe he does, and maybe that's an emerging arm. If they can get him going, that could be a key to this series as well. But to me, this series is going to be all dependent on offense. We already know that the Chicago Cubs pitchers have not been able to go deep into games this postseason. They didn't do it in the NLDS really, and they didn't do it well here in Game 1. So the Cubs bullpen is going to be the key, but the Cubs offense also going to be the key. If Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, Baez all show up, and Zobrist, who didn't really hit well today, then they got a shot. If not, then they're going to lose this series. But the one key for them, like I keep saying, or like I just said earlier in the video, is going to be Corey Seager. Corey Seager not being in that Dodgers bat, how much will it affect them later on down in the series? They got away with Game 1 here today, mainly because they were able to get that pitch count high on Quintana, and they were able to kind of rock Quintana a little bit there in that 5th inning, or like that 5th to 6th inning. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how this series is gonna go. I do have the Dodgers winning this series, but this is one of those interesting matchups where I can't tell you guys who I think is going to be the emerging star. I mean, we clearly saw who it was from the Dodgers. It's Puig, and Puig was their table setter in the division series. He's going to be their table setter in the championship series. If Puig can continue to do what Puig is doing now, all the criticism that Puig has gotten throughout the years, that'll be erased, especially with this series. Now, I don't like his antics. He did a bat flip for a double, which is ridiculous, but it's whatever. That's Yasiel Puig. You got to let Yasiel Puig have fun. I realize that that's how you get the best out of Yasiel Puig, is by just letting him be Puig. Let him do the things that he likes to do and roll with it. And that's what the Dodgers are going to have to, ride. They're going to have to ride that bat of Puig, Taylor, Turner, Bellinger. If Bellinger can get going, and the Cubs is going to be, like I said already, you guys already know I'm not going to repeat it, but that's how they're going to win, and bullpen's going to be the key. Which bullpen falters will be the key. If the Cubs bullpen does not show up, then the Cubs will lose this series. If the Dodgers bullpen doesn't show up, the Dodgers will lose this series, because I can't rely on Kershaw, even if he comes back and pitches this series twice or 3 times to go 7 innings, because Kershaw hasn't shown me that in the postseason. But we'll see. This is an interesting series, and it's going to get even better tonight when I watch Game 2 and you guys watch Game 2. So if you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like down below, comment as well. Let me know who you guys think is going to win this series. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be later on tonight. Recap Dodgers Cubs Game 2.